So let's pretend at this point you have all of your texture completed, you're happy with it, you have your gradients, your detail layers, everything is already baked, you have everything baked in, and you look at this as the final, you're ready to go. Okay, so we're gonna go export the textures first. Once again, it's going to be Unreal 4 packed. I showed you the naming convention earlier, so you can follow that for the naming convention. Put these wherever your textures are going to be going. And let's call this one Mogbody 1 version 1, because this will be the first texture. Okay. So we're going to export our 3 textures there, the normal map, the roughness metal map, and the albedo, the color map. Okay, excellent. Now at this point, we should be good to go for making some smart materials. Okay, textures. Here's this. Okay, so we have our main color, the normal map, and then the roughness and metallic. So these are all good to go. They would just need to be updated to the naming convention, as you can see here. Okay, so then this would be V01, the first variation of this character, and I'm going to show you how to do the next variation. So you're happy with this one, everything's good, it's already exported. Let's go back to our Substance Painter and okay. So now let's bundle all these up into a folder and call this Mog Test Body, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I like to put AA in front of my smart materials so that they're easier to find in the stack. You don't need to do that, but I find it helpful. So let's put everything underneath there. So when we turn it on and off, that's all there is. Now, I want to make this a smart material so that I can easily copy this to other meshes so that I can make the variations and have all the same stats. So the way to do that is right click on it, create a smart material. It's going to pop it down into the smart material tab here, and as you can see, because I put AA, it's going to be right near the top. That's just one of the helpful little tips. Okay, so here's our smart material here. Okay, perfect. Now I want to make a variation of this texture in a different color with a different color scheme. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off. This is good to go. We've already exported it. And I want to bring back in my smart material, and it's going to just pop right back in. Okay. And let's change the color of that to blue, and say the color of this to like a reddish. And then you'll have to kind of change all these to kind of make sense however you need to. That looks fine. Okay. And then say for this variation, we're going to have the stripes in a bit of a different pattern. So I can go in and actually just like wipe these out, or I can right click and I can clear the mask and then draw in my own ones. Say these ones are like longer or whatever the variation is. So maybe more, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so say this is your next variation and you're happy with it and it's all good to go and it's amazing. Okay, so now this is going to be your variation number 2, right? Okay. So then you're going to do the same thing with this one. You're going to export it and you're going to name it V02. And then it's essentially going to be the exact same process. So if I wanted to do another variation, I could you know, if I'm already in this, I can just copy this one down and make that variation and export that out. The benefit of these smart materials is, say for example, right now we're just doing the body, and because there's one body, it's working really, really cleanly. But in an example where, say I'm doing this on a head, and it fits perfectly on the head and everything is good, and then I make the smart material, I bring in a different head and then put this on, it's not going to line up one to one the exact same way I had on the other head. So you will need to go in and adjust the masks to actually have the things like the details where they need to be. So that is a bit of a pain, but it is what it is and it needs to be done. So that's the benefit of smart materials, is at least giving you the control to only have to worry about the masks and where things are, rather than redoing the entire texture from scratch each time for a variation. So yeah, here we have two variations, and it's going to be essentially the same thing. If I want another variation, I'm going to duplicate these layers, call this one 3, and then I'm going to go through and put a different design or do whatever I want for this variation, and then export that out as variation 3. So I think that pretty much covers the smart material. I will show you an example of another file where I can bring a smart material in from one head and then set it up on another head and show you what I mean by it's not going to come in exactly as you want it. So maybe I can do that in the next one, but this is essentially how I did all the variations for the fur. Once it's set up, the first one, you make a smart material and then bring the smart material in or duplicate these layers, export them out as different variations, and then just go through and edit all the things you had already set up on the initial one. So the most important thing is having your very first version as tight as it can be so that you don't have to edit it later, and then duplicate that back onto the mesh and continue editing from there. So I'm going to walk you through a few more things in the next video, but that pretty much covers smart materials, doing the variations, how I got the fur, like the short looking fur done as well. And I'll move on to a few different cases to help you out in the next video.